Hello and welcome back to Vox Terra. If you have not done so, please do subscribe and click that notification bell so you know when I'm putting up a new video. We have historic, raging wildfires in the American West, historic heat, and historic dry conditions. Why, and just last year, almost all of Australia was on fire. Prior, we've had historic wildfires in the Arctic and Siberia. Yet the media rarely connects the dots back to fossil fuel initiated climate change. And because they don't, the public is not clamoring for political action on this issue, and the Republican Party can freely afford to be dominated by fossil fuel interests without anyone barely noticing, and at their convention actually try to pin the blame for these raging wildfires on the very people trying to protect us from climate change, environmentalists. So we climate activists, we environmentalists, we concerned people need to learn how to articulate in simple talking points how climate change is driving this extreme weather and these wildfires. All change comes from repeated messaging. So in this video, I will help you do that. I'm going to provide you excellent citations to NASA, Union of Concerned Scientists, Yale, the fourth U.S. Climate Assessment, and other great citations below my video. So when I talk to people about climate change or the environment, I always start with the fact that, hey, look, the media is a business. You got to realize that. It's owned by big corporations or very wealthy people. They have ties to the fossil fuel petrochemical industry by nature of advertising or simply interlocking boards of directors. Another reason the media downplays the environment is science, and scientists tend to speak in terms of probability. Then, in conversation, I'll move on to how it works. First, you can go right to the NASA website and I will link it for you. This is review for some of my viewers, and then I'll get to some new material. But right at the NASA website, the Earth is 1.9 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than at the start of the Industrial Revolution, and most of that heat has been building up in the past 25 years, with a major spike in the past 5. Now, there's only two things mainly that affect the planet's temperature: proximity to the sun, slight variations in orbit, and the composition of the atmosphere. We have been altering that atmosphere, adding tons and tons every year of known heat-trapping gases called greenhouse gases through the burning of fossil fuels. Second, I always let people know, in addition to the fact the Earth globally is hotter, the poles are heating up more relative to the rest of the planet. This is throwing off the jet stream and the Earth's circulatory systems, because that circulation of air runs from hot at the equators to cold at the poles. So as the planet becomes more uniform in heat, we are losing the Earth's natural circulation. In addition, as we lose the ice, we lose the Earth's natural air conditioning. I also always explain that the hotter air masses retain more moisture. Hotter air holds onto moisture more. So it pulls more moisture out of the soil, creating drier conditions. And then when it rains, it either pours or doesn't rain for prolonged periods. Because in addition, that jet stream has become more sluggish, so the air patterns might linger. And now you have this hotter air that pulls moisture out of the soil and just holds onto it. So these drier conditions, these hotter conditions, are prone to wildfire. Now, new material, specifically with the American West, according to the Union of Concerned Scientists, the American West is heated up faster than the global average. According to the Union of Concerned Scientists and Yale, that I'll cite you, the snowpacks are melting earlier because spring has been coming on sooner, leaving the forests and the vegetation drier longer. So we have a drier overall West. Many places on Earth have become drier. So now we have these hot, dry conditions, and according to the NASA website that I'll link you to, heat also can help create lightning. Here, let me quote for you. Lightning strikes are generated by the warmer temperatures that cause the atmosphere to create more convection systems or thunderstorms. So now we see an increase due to global warming of the igniter of wildfire, not just of the conditions. Now remember, I mentioned that global warming, the hotter planet, these hotter air masses, leads to either more heavy rain or no rain. So what happens is there's often what scientists refer to, or people refer to, as a whiplash effect, whereby it's dry, 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 then comes the pounding rains, and now a whole bunch of vegetation springs up, and then it dries out all over again. That creates then a fuel buildup. Hotter nights. Nights often don't cool down as much as they used to in the past. Hotter nights mean, quoting, warmer nighttime temperature allow fires to burn through the night and burn more intensely. And that allows fires to spread over multiple days where previously cooler nighttime temperatures might have weakened or extinguished the fire after only one day. Now, according to the 4th U.S. Climate Assessment, which I'll also provide you a link to, the hotter winters we're experiencing have allowed bark beetles to gain a greater foothold, those tree-damaging bark beetles out west. Quoting, recent warming has allowed mountain pine beetles to erupt at elevations and latitudes where winters historically were cold enough to keep them in check. These sick and dying trees also create fuel for the wildfire. But since the media ignores this connection, the denial industry is able to create a counter story and circulate it. And that counter story is to focus exclusively on fire management. And then worse, I heard someone at the Republican convention blame environmentalists for not wanting to log. As someone who has subscribed to environmental causes and magazines and organizations from young adulthood, and my mother before me as a child, I can tell you that what I've seen from the environmental movement is not that. What I have seen is calls for sustainable or more responsible logging. Specifically, do not clear cut the forests, which would make them sick and dying and also prone to fire. Don't clear cut them. I've seen campaigns about not doing slash and burn in other countries where that's practiced. And I've seen campaigns to protect ancient, old-growth forests that have stood for thousands and thousands of years untouched by humanity. Environmental groups have mentioned one forest management policy called burn suppression, but that doesn't come from the environmental movement. Suppressing burns, suppressing naturally occurring wildfires in the old days was coming from developers. People wanted to develop into areas that were previously wildfire prone, and then suppressing those fires, allowing for a fuel buildup. But again, that is not actually coming from environmentalists. And look, keep in mind, when people try to hit you with that, these wildfires are worldwide. They're occurring now, the range has spread, and they're occurring in areas they never really used to. Here, let me quote from NASA again. Since the 1980s, the wildfire season has lengthened across a quarter of the world's vegetative surface. Okay? Wildfire season has lengthened. That's climate change. Across a quarter of the world's vegetative surface. Not just forests that were previously managed adjacent to development, but the whole planet. Wildfire season is longer. Fires burn more intensely, for the reasons I stated, and the range has spread. The American West, according to the Union of Concerned Scientists, has seen an increase in wildfire season duration, intensity, and also heating. And lastly, I always let people know when I talk about climate change about the climate feedback loops, or what I call dire feedback loops. Yes, this is set in motion by the excessive burning of fossil fuels, the excessive use of petrochemicals, but it takes on a life of its own. So, those burning forests now add carbon to the atmosphere, whereas prior the forests were major, what we call carbon sinks. That melting Arctic ice means that now the Arctic area is becoming darker because there's not that white ice to reflect, and so now the Arctic oceans are absorbing more heat than they used to. So it becomes a dire feedback loop and a runaway freight train to the point where the fossil fuel or the denial industry can eventually claim, see, humanity has nothing to do with this, it's Mother Nature heating the planet. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please share, please subscribe, please click that notification bell so you know when I'm putting up another video. Please comment, and it'd be great to get some supportive comments. A lot of people just see the word climate change and I got my cut and paste, I'm gonna plop it right here and provide you a link to some, pseudoscience and move on. Maybe toss a couple insults your way. So it'd be great to get some support as well. Constructive criticism, fantastic. And hey, if you'd really like to see this channel blossom and maybe I can move on to doing interviews or make this really a lot better of a show, please consider becoming a patron at Patreon. And until next time, peace be with you.